A very warm good morning to all my dear darlings of Sri Gokulam Public School. How are you, my dears? I hope you are all keeping safe and sound, and welcome once again to our online classes. We were discussing the chapter We Are Not Afraid to Die If We Are Together. We said that Gordon Cook and his family had went out for a sea voyage, and as they entered southern Indian Ocean, they had experienced a very terrible storm, and now they are in a life and death situation struggling with the storm. We also said that the comforting words of Gordon's daughter Sue had provided a lot of strength and energy for Gordon to fight the enormous storm. So let us see if Gordon and his crewmen will be able to survive the storm or not. Well, on January 3rd, the crewmen and Gordon were able to keep the water level under control. After 15 hours of endless struggle, now they were able to take rest for at least 2 hours in rotation. But still, they observed that there was a leak in the ship. After inspection, they found that the ship's main body, the rib frame means the main body of the ship, had been smashed and damaged in many parts. According to their plans, their next destination was Australia. But narrator was sensible enough to understand that Wave Walker would not hold them till they reached Australia. He checked out his charts to find out the nearest land area. He calculated and found that there were 2 nearby islands, and one of them, Isle Amsterdam, which was a French scientific base, lay east to them. He immediately geared his ship to reach the island Isle Amsterdam. But still, the chances for them to reach the island was very slim and not very hopeful. Because of the tremendous waves lashing onto the ship, the engine had almost failed, and he was not sure that the engine would keep working till they reached the island. Yet he hoped that they would be safe till they reached the nearest land. They still continued with the pumping out of water. On January 4th, after 36 hours of continuous pumping, they were able to keep the water under control. Yet the situation was not very safe for them. Pressure was still mounting on them, and the weather was not showing any good signs. They hoisted the storm jib and headed towards the island. In the meantime, Mary found some corned beef and cracked biscuits, and after the last few days, they had their first meal together. But their hope was very short-lived. At 4 p.m., the clouds started darkening and they faced yet another storm. The wind was roaring and the sea waves were again lashing out with huge, tremendous thunders. This continued the entire night, and by January 5th, the entire family and the crewmen felt completely desperate and hopeless. Gordon now believed that their death is inevitable and there was no chance for them to survive the storm or reach the nearest island. He started to prepare mentally to die. When he went into the children's cabin to comfort them, he found a very enthusiastic and energetic children sitting in front of him. On seeing Gordon, his son John, asked him whether they were going to die. Gordon tries to comfort the child by telling that he would try to save them somehow. But immediately the young 6-year-old boy tells him that he is not afraid to die if they are all staying together as a family. Again, this strong and powerful, fearless words of that young boy made Gordon feel that somehow he had to save his family. The fighter in him was again awakened. He went back into his cabin and started calculating on his charts the ways to reach the nearest land. He tried to protect the damaged parts of the ship with paraffin. Paraffin means wax and nylon ropes. But still, water was still getting into the ship. That evening, Gordon again felt very desperate, and he sat with his wife Mary, holding her hand, expecting end to come very soon. On the morning of January 6th, the wind was easing. It was coming down. He again went into his cabin and took out his compass for calculating and reading the charts. As he was working with his charts, Sue entered his cabin. This time she had a beautiful hand-drawn card with her. She gave that card to her father, and in it was the funny pictures of her parents and lot of funny words written about them. Definitely she was trying to cheer up her father. Inside the card was the words, "Oh, how I love you both." And she went on to say a thank you to her father, and also that she hoped that everything would end up with the best. Now children, just look at how enthusiastic and hopeful those children are. They are so fearless and so courageous. Even as they were facing the heavy storm, the thunder, the water getting into the ship, yet their spirit was so unbroken, so unchallenged. Many a times Gordon and his wife had given up hope. They had waited for death. They had waited for the end of their life. But the children never ever let go of the hope that they would reach the land safe and sound. And we should also remember that the young girl has got multiple injuries on her, and she is going through some tremendous pain also. In spite of that, she was able to think about her father and provide some enormous motivation for him. Even as they were losing many things and they were going through many difficulties, the compass was not working, the many parts of the ship was breaking, water was still gushing inside. Over and over again, our narrator Gordon would try to fix things and repair and find out ways to fight the storm and find the land. After a lot of struggle and fight, finally the narrator estimated that they would reach the land by 5 p.m. that day evening. At 2 p.m. he instructed Larry to take over the wheel, and he went in to rest in his cabin. Of course, that was a hope against hope. He was not completely sure that he would find land by the evening. Due to the endless struggle that he had gone through, Gordon fell into a deep sleep. When he woke up, it was almost 6 p.m. He immediately judged that they had lost the land, and now there was no way for them to find land anywhere near. As he woke up, his 2 young beautiful children entered his cabin, and John asked him if he could hug his father. After hugging his father, Gordon asks him why did he want to hug him. So he tells that this hug is for the best daddy and the best captain in the entire world. Gordon feels that this is yet another way of how Jonathan was trying to motivate Gordon. But Jonathan tells that this is not another technique of his and that they had really found the land. Sue informs him that they have found the island and the island is as big as a battleship. Gordon is in for a great surprise. He finds it completely unbelievable and he runs onto the deck of the ship. And before him lay the beautiful island, Isle Amsterdam. They anchored their ship that night. The next day morning, the 28 inhabitants means the people living on the island, they came to receive them and help them out. As Gordon touched the land with his feet, he felt immense gratitude for the people who had been through him and supported him throughout this struggle. He thought about his crewmen, Larry and Herb, who were so optimistic and so hopeful and fighters themselves. He thought about his wonderful wife, Mary, who had supported him and stayed with him all throughout the struggle. But most of all, he thought about his fearless and courageous children, Sue and Jonathan. His young daughter, in spite of having multiple injuries, was more worried about her father than about her pain, and his young boy was not at all afraid to die. Sue had to undergo six minor operations to remove the block in between her skin and the skull, but finally they were all safe and happy together. So my dear children, what is that we learn from this challenge that Gordon and his family had faced? Of course, any difficulties, any enormous problems that we face in our life is possible to be solved if we are working together as a team. Your parents, your siblings, your loved ones are the most important people in your life, and never for once leave them alone. Keep supporting your family and your loved ones. Your kind words, your careful thoughts can go a long way in their life. Never take anything for granted and have that fearless fighter attitude in you. Keep fighting any problems in your life with determination and with conviction. So with this, we are ending today's class. I hope you have enjoyed and understood the lesson. Till we meet again in the next class, let me say farewell to you. Have a wonderful day and keep studying hard.